past two videos, we saw a cessation of certain judgments coming upon the earth. That we see God remove both the tribulation church and the church that is in the grave. And they appeared before the throne of God. We're going to continue this and finish that chapter out by showing you the promise given to those people, both the ones out of the tribulation and out of the grave from the time past. Hello everybody, I'm Keith O'Dare, and welcome to When You Search for Truth, where we look for the truth by looking at what is actually written in the Word of God, word for word, in the order given from the original text, using the original definitions. I hope you're liking it. Let's get started with chapter 7, verse 15, 16, and 17. All right, and verse 15, and the word for word says, through what? Well, we just went through the 7 years of tribulation. Well, almost the 7 years of tribulation. Some scholars and the scriptures say it could be 2 to 5 months before the actual end, because 2 to 5 months kind of reserved for the wrath of God to occur, which we're going to get into in the next chapter. But through that, all that time that the church spends in both the grave and in the tribulation, they are now before the throne of God. Now, most people stop right there and say, hey, look, we're in heaven. See, that's where we end up. No, it doesn't say that. It says they are before the throne. Yes, we will be before the throne of God, but we know from Isaiah, it's just a moment of time. Until the moment of indignation, his wrath is over. So, yes, we're before the throne of God. We're in heaven for a small period of time. But it says, and will serve him day and night in his temple. Where does the temple end up being? The temple, as we find out later on in Revelation, is on the new earth, when the new heaven and new earth comes down. So, yes, we are with God for a moment of time. Then we'll find out that we'll actually reign with Christ for 1,000 years. Then after that's over and done with, comes the judgment seat. And we'll get all to this. But I just wanted to give you context of this promise that this elder is telling him to John. And will serve him day and night in his temple, which is on the new earth. And we will serve him. He sitting on the throne will dwell with them. And we know at the end that God comes and dwells with us. All right. Verse 16 in the word for word says, not to be hungry, still not even thirsty, neither no more shining of the sun, shining on them any heat. So we won't, in this new heaven and new earth, we won't be hungry. We will not be thirsty. No more shining of the sun to give us heat, because that comfort, that heat, that comes from God himself. But in addition to that, it says, because in verse 17, because the Lamb that is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, us, and lead them unto the living fountains of water, and God will wipe away all the tears from their eyes. Now notice when that occurs, the tears are wiped away at the very end. We're only at the end of the 7 year tribulation, and we have not even seen the wrath of God yet. But in 15, 16, and 17 here, it's a promise to those who have just been raptured out that they will be with God, and the Messiah will feed us and leading us into the fountains of water, which is understanding of God's will. And basically we're come back to the very beginning. As it was in the garden, so shall it be in the end. And again, the best promise of all, and God will wipe away all tears from our eyes at that time. But we've got a lot to go through before that happens. All right. I hope you're enjoying this. Next time, we're going to get into the wrath of God. Until next time, shalom.